Daniel Dubois stops Richard Lartey in the fourth round. This was a very, very entertaining fight while it lasted. Now, Richard Lartey, I was actually going to do a video there on this fight yesterday because it looked like at the last minute this fight was going to be scrapped because apparently there was some visa issues with Richard Lartey, but obviously that got resolved. And as Barry Jones said on commentary, he suspected the visa issues stem from Lartey's age because he's listed as being 27. He doesn't look 27. He looks a lot older than that. Anyway, that being said, let's talk about this fight. This fight, Daniel Dubois, I thought buzzed Lartey in the first opening kind of seconds of the fight, and Lartey was backed up to the ropes. Now, one thing Lartey did a lot in this fight was whenever he was buzzed by Dubois, he held. And I mean, he held on for dear life almost. He had a vice grip hold on Daniel Dubois' arms to a point where I think in the third round, Bob Williams, the referee, was shouting break repeatedly, and Lartey would just not let go. And, you know, it looked like he was almost trying to get away out of there because he just wouldn't let, I think Dubois had his arms free, but he wouldn't let go. Every time he was buzzed, he did that. But while he was getting buzzed by a few shots from Dubois, he was also doing a very good job of kind of, you know, tucking up, making Dubois smother his own work, and setting traps for Dubois. In the third round in particular, it looked like Dubois was on the verge of getting Lartey out of there because he landed a very, very good uppercut on him and then landed a good left hook which hit the buzz Lartey. But Lartey came back and had an exchange with Dubois, and it looked like Lartey got the better of the exchange. He actually looked like he buzzed Dubois in the third round because Dubois kind of went to throw a shot, and I think he walked into it was either hook or right hand, and he ended up going forward. Now, he didn't go down or anything like that, no, but he ended up kind of walking around the ring, and it almost looked like his legs were unsteady. He recovered fine, but towards the end of that round, end of the third round, he really didn't throw anything. Lartey wasn't throwing back, neither was Dubois. Lartey was happy enough to stay on the ropes and, you know, just kind of wait for the shots to come at him, but Dubois didn't really throw. Now, Dubois in the fourth round came out, and as Lartey was throwing a shot, landed a straight right hand, bang on the chin. It just kind of looked to graze the chin, but Daniel Dubois is one of these fighters I think is very heavy-handed. So, you know, for him to be coming forward, Lartey to be coming forward, walking into that shot, I think it added to the power. Lartey went down, referee Bob Williams waved the fight off. Now, what do I assess from this fight? Well, first off, it was a very entertaining fight to watch while it lasted. But you see Richard Lartey and you see him having those exchanges with Dubois, and you just think if that was Joe Joyce, that would be a different story, because I'm not going to say Dubois was hurt or anything like that. I do think he may have been buzzed a bit, and I think actually in the second round, Dubois threw a jab and Lartey came over with a right hand, and it was actually a very good right hand, and I think it did stiffen the legs of Dubois a bit. So Lartey was doing, from a point of view of being a fiddly, tricky opponent, setting traps for Dubois, Lartey was doing good, and from Dubois' point of view, he was, you know, walking into these traps. I think it was the fourth round was kind of where he looked his most composed because, you know, he learned a bit, I think, from the third round, and Dubois was buzzing Lartey, but he wasn't going hell for leather. He was taking a step back rather than just going in charging. I think he learned from the third round. But you just think that if he had a kind of shootout like that with Joe Joyce, you would imagine Joe Joyce would get the better of it, and you would imagine Joe Joyce hits a lot harder than Richard Lartey. I think he definitely does. So you would imagine if it's Joe Joyce hitting you with them shots, different story. Now, Dubois, I think this was a fight where he just, maybe he kind of wanted to impress. Maybe, you know, he was in there with someone who was tricky. He had a yardstick when he was fighting, what was the guy's name? Kajanu. Because Gorman had fought and went 12 rounds. But Kajanu was someone who, you know, he's not exactly the greatest heavyweight in the world. He's a big, stiff, lumbering heavyweight who's not got the best punch resistance. So with Dubois, he could just overpower him. With Lartey, it was different. He appeared to have, you know, even though he was stopped, he appeared to be able to take the shots a lot better. He was tricky, he was awkward, he was, you know, doing some veteran tactics in there, but he was also fighting back at points in the fight. So I think with Dubois, it was a little bit trickier this fight. And again, there was alludes to Joe Joyce all at ringside. Joe Joyce was at this fight, he was at the show. He was interviewed straight after the fight. He was standing alongside David Haye, his old promoter there, which was actually, you know, an interesting sight because we got used to seeing that there last year. But now, if this fight does happen, Joe Joyce versus Daniel Dubois for the British title, I would definitely be making Joe Joyce favourite. I think that Joe Joyce the way Lartey fought and the things that Lartey was doing that he was having success with, they're things that Joe Joyce can do and does do. And you would imagine that Joe Joyce would have even more success against Daniel Dubois. And you would imagine that Joe Joyce hits a lot harder than Lartey, probably takes a better shot than Lartey. Not exactly the quickest heavyweight in the world, Joe Joyce, but you would imagine that everything that Lartey did, Joe Joyce could do. Everything Lartey did well, I should say, Joe Joyce can do. And you would definitely be making Joe Joyce favourite if he was to fight Daniel Dubois in July, which is being purported. Daniel Dubois, he is 21 years old. He does appear to have a very good jab. He is very physically strong. You know, Daniel Dubois, for 21 years old, you know, you could see he was the stronger man of the two in there. And, you know, he's a very good jab, a good right hand. But I think Daniel Dubois, I think early on in the fight, he smothered his own work a little bit. And I think that, you know, he was too eager to go and trade and, you know, walk into the traps that Richard Lartey was setting. So there are things that, you know, that can never be polished out. I think he would have learned a lot from these 4 rounds. So, you know, it's good for Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois, I do think he is still a good prospect. I do think that out of him and Nathan Gorman, I've always been more impressed with Daniel Dubois. But I think that Joe Joyce, at British level / European level in Britain anyway, not counting Anthony Joshua, I think that Joe Joyce is, you know, in terms of prospects, he's number 1. So I would definitely be picking Joe Joyce if Daniel Dubois fought him next. But let me know what you think. Did you enjoy the fight? Were you impressed by Dubois? Did you think that, you know, did you expect more from Daniel Dubois against Richard Lartey? Or, you know, were you really unimpressed? Did you think that maybe, you know, your opinion of Dubois dipped? Mine didn't. I think that, you know, there were mistakes made by Dubois, but nothing that can't be ironed out. But definitely I do think that Joe Joyce would have the beating there of Dubois if he fought. So that is my thoughts on this. Leave yours down below. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks again for dropping by the channel. Please subscribe if you feel the video was helpful. If you like the content, you know, subscribe. And as always, I will talk to you after.